As promised, no dilly, no dally. It's 9:05. Sorry, 9:06. I apologize. It's 9:06. Wow, Lucas is already. What? All right. What are you opening, sir? Out of camera range. What are you opening?
Well, what do you mean?
I thought I heard a pop top. I thought I heard some caffeine, perhaps.
Oh no, caffeine's already been ingested. It's just water for the rest of the day.
Oh, dude, man, you're a lot healthier than I am. But as promised, batting leadoff is Lucas Panzica. Once again, I apologize for 9:06. Luke, I had Lucas talking in the green room ahead of time as we were going through the Eastern Conference and getting ready for Major League Soccer. You, sir, had a busy night last night with game one of Nashville and the Purple Team. Now that you've had, 12 hours to think about it, what have you thought?
Well, a little more of the same from Nashville as we saw in the backstretch of the regular season. A little more of the same as we saw in the last matchup against Orlando, where it's a cagey game. You know, each team just has to take advantage of 1 to 2 moments. Orlando's the team that was able to do that. They were the team that was able to see it out. Early goals are going to be huge. Taking the lead, huge in this series. Both of these teams so good at just seeing out these leads and finishing out these games. We all know Orlando and their reputation under Oscar Pareja. I don't have to tell that to your Atlanta audience when they're up 1-0, what that game kind of devolves into. That's what Nashville was looking to avoid, but an absolute stunner from Wilder Cartagena has Orlando on top, and they're able to see it out at home. So now Nashville has to just grab some of that momentum back and find some of that attacking spark that they were lacking after Leagues Cup, with the exception of the late season win against New England.
So the early chance by Sam Sturridge, are you and everyone there in Middle Tennessee in the Southeast still going like this with your hands on your forehead, discussing a sitter that could have changed the game state?
Yeah, that chance by Surridge. There's a chance by Teal Bunbury in the box in the second half. Again, moments to take advantage of are going to be so few and far between in this series between Nashville and Orlando. And you got to pounce on them, especially if you're the designated player. That's why Sam Surridge was brought here. He'll tell you that that's one that he needs to score. Gary Smith will tell you that's one that he just has to get around and put on target, put into the back of the net. Same goes for Teal Bunbury. But again, the expectation is there for Sam Surridge to elevate this team in the attack. He did it in Leagues Cup. He did it in a couple moments in the regular season since then. Just hasn't happened with the regularity that Nashville needs it to. And there's no question that that's a huge moment in that game. That game is scoreless at that point, and that's a chance for Nashville to kind of seize control, and they're unable to take advantage of it. So there's no question that Nashville's in this series, really neither team in this series is going to have 12, 13, 14 shots on goal. That's just not how the series is going to play out. You could probably count on one hand in every game the shots on target that each team will have in this best-of-3 series between Nashville and Orlando, and simply have to take advantage.
How did you feel about Orlando attempting to handcuff Hani Mukhtar? And I know that we all look at that one shot that he launched from just outside of 30, that it looked like it might have broken the tip of a finger of Pedro Gallese at one point. But how did you look at what Orlando was doing to handcuff Hani?
Yeah, Hani really trying to one-up Wilder Cartagena there. I mean, that was just moments after the opening goal, and he almost did it. That was an incredible strike that, you're right, Gallese gets just a piece of it and kind of paid for it a little bit. But Orlando, I do think John is really well equipped to deal with Hani Mukhtar with that double pivot of Cartagena and Cesar Araujo, and just combined with Orlando being one of the hottest teams, not just in the Eastern Conference, but in the league. They're playing with a ton of confidence right now. And they do a really nice job of just kind of setting up a perimeter around Hani, so to speak, taking Hani to ground, trying to cut off the supply lines that Hani is trying to provide to Sam Surridge, to Jacob Schaffelberg, and vice versa. And they're just really, really well equipped to do so. So Nashville's got to find a way to circumvent those things when they come back home in a week's time at Geodis Park.
When it comes to it being a week, I know what Major League Soccer is trying to do. I mean, you and I, as fans of sport, look at the NBA, look at the National Hockey League. We look at how there's spacing, and it's not every single game here, every single game here, and every single game here. It is spaced. I mean, we are not even through games 1 yet, because Atlanta and Columbus still have theirs coming up in the midweek. When it comes to this group and this particular playoff format, I guess this is almost turning into two separate questions. What do you think about this format where everything is so spaced out? Yes, it gives you recovery time, but I know you want to get back to it. And then what do you think, if anything, Gary's going to work on in the next week to make sure that they get utilized back at Geodis? What do you think?
That's not too shabby, but
especially early out of the blocks, brother.
Yeah, look, I think the new format, it's a little awkward, if I'm being honest. This idea of having 3 weeks or whatever it is blocked off for just the first round in that best of 3 series, and then what do we have? 10 to 14 days of the rest of the playoffs after that. Yeah. I mean, it's just a little disproportionate for me. It's almost excruciating in a way that we're getting 1 to 2 games per day, really dragging this thing out. I mean, I really feel like we could be at a point now where every team in Major League Soccer would at least be on to game 2, if not game 3. But here we are, where the majority of teams have barely played 1 game in their best of 3 series. So it's just a little bit painstaking is all. So I wonder if that'll be something that's tweaked. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me to really try and drag out and pour the attention onto this first round best of 3 series, and then suddenly we're out of it. And boom, 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 playoffs are over. We have an MLS Cup champ, and we move on to the offseason. So,
dude, I mean, it's like literally you're sitting there and you're stretching out this television series as far out as humanly possible. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's November sweeps. Let's go ahead and get everything all locked out. I know that you've got actual work to do before too long. So I won't keep you before your daytime duties when it comes to discussing everything in the National Football League. Oh, by the way, what did you think of, since we're talking NFL, what did you think of the Love Ya Blues that were broken up by the Tennessee Titans?
Awesome. What a universally positive response. It's so rare that when teams throw out these throwback uniforms that you don't have a single person saying, I don't like them. I don't think they look good. You may have those that say, those belong to Houston and have trouble with the concept of a franchise moving cities but still being the same franchise. But as far as the aesthetic of it, yeah, I think it blew everybody away. It was really, really cool to see, and more importantly, a big performance. And I will say, I think Atlanta is one of those that the throwbacks with the red helmets are so aesthetically pleasing. And I got to be honest, I was really disappointed they did not break those out to have Oiler blue against that Atlanta throwback in a regular season game. Would have loved to see that. The all black is a great look for the Falcons, but would have loved to see a dueling throwback matchup last Sunday.
All right. So back to our original discussion quickly here. Who do you think needs to step up in game 2 to force a game 3 back in Orlando? Who for you last night you would have liked to have seen more from, outside of who we've talked about, obviously, with Bunbury and Surge not closing out chances, and obviously Hani being the center of attention? But who else do you need to see step up in game 2 for Nashville?
Well, I don't think I need to overthink it. It's Hani and Sam. I mean, right, the season kind of hinges on those two creating that chemistry on the field that we saw suddenly in flashes, in quick bursts in Leagues Cup when Sam Surge comes off the bench in 3 straight games and scores 3 straight goals and helps power Nashville to the final. So there's no question. It comes down to those two guys. It comes down to Hani Mukhtar creating a spark, Sam Surge finishing those chances, because this is a Nashville team that, again, whether it's against Orlando or anybody, will only ever need 1 to 2 of those moments to come out on top. We've seen Nashville, they've conceded the fewest amount of goals in MLS this year. The defensive standard hasn't really wavered this season. That's just the missing piece of the puzzle right now, and it has been for the last few weeks of the season. Gary Smith has not been shy about that. Nashville had this luxury of a runway, if you will, into the playoffs to try and get that figured out, where their spot was kind of secured. It was going to be 6th or 7th in the East, where the last 3-4 games of the regular season, John, there wasn't anything, up for grabs as far as home playoffs or missing the playoffs. You kind of knew where you were, so you were able to hone in on that. And the spark was found against New England. 3 goals in the first half, and it was like a weight off of everybody's shoulders. And then scoreless against New York. Red Bulls scoreless last night against Orlando. So I don't want to say Nashville is back to square one in that regard, but there's no question their backs are against the wall in that regard. And in the big picture with the season, it comes down to Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge. I will give you Jacob Schaffelberg as a guy that down that left side. Was able to create a spark in that 3-1 win against New England a couple of weeks ago, provided some good service. He had the cross in that Surge is unable to finish off last night. So Jacob Schaffelberg, I do think, is kind of the X factor for this Nashville team, especially in transition, which is where they really want to hurt you.
Yeah, Jacob is definitely a pest for anybody that tries to go up against him on the left-hand side. What have you thought about the rest of the East so far?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think the New England Philly game 1 played out a little bit how I expected. We were talking some off the air about the series we were most looking forward to. I mean, what is this, the third series that's even gotten underway in the Eastern Conference? So we've been in the playoffs for a week now, it feels like. So not much to talk about yet. But New England bleeding goals. Philly I think is in solid form. I expect Philly to kind of emerge from that series. But we were talking, the series that by far I'm most excited for is Columbus, where there's been a couple people are excited about SKC St. Louis, and for good reason. Suddenly SKC looks primed to make a run, and Vancouver LAFC, there's goals. But as far as two contenders that play an exciting brand, Atlanta and Columbus, to me, is the most fascinating series of the Eastern Conference. But Nashville Orlando at Geodis Park is going to be really interesting. I think this is really where you start to see tempers boil over between Nashville and Orlando. Nashville has, as a new team, as you guys know, you come into the league and you kind of grow into these rivalries, right? You try to figure out, okay, what's a rivalry and what isn't. There's some that get labeled as a rivalry, but there's just not enough actual on-field history for it to be so for the players. I think Orlando, Nashville has grown into one of the more organic rivalries for the boys in gold, just as far as how the games have played out and the tempers that typically flare, and Gary Smith and Oscar Pareja and their styles of play. And I think we finally start to see some of that on Tuesday at Geodis Park. And again, just 1 to 2 moments, whichever team is able to take advantage.
All right, so cut the promo for me, knowing full well that you're going to be back on the show. You have the invite for the day after game 2, but cut the promo for me.
Fantastic. So, yeah, Geodis Park a week from tonight. So I'll be on the call with Jalil Anibaba, and it'll be an interesting 90 minutes and maybe more. We shall see. But we'll see next time I'm back here if we're talking about a Nashville-Orlando Game 3 in Orlando, or Nashville sputtering a bit in the attack and closing out the season with a first round and done little mini playoff run. The discourse after the season in Nashville will be really interesting because obviously there will be concerns about the way the season would have ended. There's still time to salvage this season, but at the same time, you found yourself in CONCACAF Champions Cup for the first time in club history, and there was so much good that happened in the middle of the season, so much to be built upon in 2024, where you're only going to be playing more games. So the discourse of Nashville's upcoming offseason could very well be determined by what happens a week from today at Geodis Park, and look forward to figuring out what that is.
Lucas Panzica, play-by-play voice for everyone, #everyone in, as that
That's
is
right.
On the 280 character app. Good to see you, my friend. Continue drinking water and be the healthier one of the two of us. We'll catch up with you next week.
I will carry that burden, John. Happy Halloween, man. Appreciate you.
Be good. That's Lucas. And Lucas actually is going to go to work, and he's going to talk about Will Levis, NFL MVP. Will Levis, MVP. So it's good to catch up with Lucas up there at 104.5 in Nashville, the play-by-play voice on the audio side for our friends at Nashville SC. Had to bring Lucas in after what happened last night, and the chances that needed to be closed in by Nashville, like we talked about it, Surge in the first half, Bunbury in the second, and you just get the Cartagena goal from 30, was it? So Cartagena crashes from 30 and just a wonder strike, and that was all that Oscar Pareja needed. And so Orlando's got a 1-0 series lead. The other one late last night, concerns in Dallas on more than one front. It is a win by Seattle, and obviously we'll talk to Nico Moreno Thursday morning at 10:30 about it. But at the same time, Alec Velasco leaving the pitch in tears. Looked like it was a knee injury of some import. Don't know the extent of it. We will find out probably in short order sometime between now and 2027 when the game 2 of the series is plotted. But news out of Dallas may not be good for one of their leading scorers, and that really puts a crimp in their offense. and just their approach going into this series. So it was a win last night for Seattle, win last night for the Purple team, and we get to wait. It's an off day for MLS playoffs, and it is a day to consider everything else that's going on. I know that Tafka has posted his playoff format. Tafka, do me a favor, post it in the Discord too. I'll read the highlights coming up here in just a little bit as we get through the intro of the show. But, like I said, we talked about it. I've talked about it. I'm viewing it as a television series, and you're trying to maximize episodes and your advertising revenue. I get it. I get the best of three. I'm a fan of the best of two in aggregate more than anything else. I get the best of three. The spacing, I understand it. I think it's spaced out maybe a little too much. You probably need to tighten things up a little bit. They do in Liga MX. Wednesday, Saturday, Thursday, Sunday. They don't blink. So we'll see. But I think that, like I said, I think Apple TV is obviously spacing things out, much like other playoff series in other leagues, so they can maximize revenue, maximize exposure for this new product of theirs on Apple TV, and maximize anything when it comes to episodes, exposure, all those kinds of things. So, like I said, that's just my 2 cents. I'm viewing it as a television series, and so that's why you're seeing this new season 1 of MLS, the television series, with all of the messy material and all the other kind of stuff spaced out the way that it is. Morning, Alex. And let's see, the short version of Tafka's playoff format. So current system. All right. So the current system, he has exposed the current system for what it is. World Cup tourney style playoffs, and he breaks them all down into 4 groups. Higher seed always hosts. 7 and 8 would not host a group stage match at all, since most fans agree 6 teams is a better cutoff for playoff qualification. It's a good compromise. 2-leg conference semi, so that a deserving 7 or 8 gets at least 1 home match, 1-leg conference final, 1-leg MLS final. And honestly, I would go with a 2-leg. I would not have any problem with a 2-leg MLS Cup. I wouldn't have a problem with a 2-leg MLS Cup at all. So that's, like I said, that's me. That's Tafka. Tafka, post that in the Discord. And so folks can have the discussion there. But once again, thanks to everybody hanging out this morning. Like I said, we wanted to bring in Lucas because Lucas has a day job. He was up late last night with Nashville and Orlando. We brought Lucas in to talk about things. The traffic today. We're going to catch up with our friends at Soccer in the Streets at 10 o'clock. Executive Director Elijah Miranda is coming on. And we're going to talk a little footy ball. And we're going to talk Soccer in the Streets as well. And for those that might have an idea about Soccer in the Streets and might just have a bit of an idea about it, we'll get into Soccer in the Streets. We'll get into how Elijah got interested in Soccer in the Streets from his own, what it's like to be an executive director, what the challenges are. But we're also going to talk footy ball and get into that, because that is this weekend, and we wanted to send up our collective flair and wave the flag and let you know about what's going on with our friends at Soccer in the Streets. That comes up at 10 o'clock this morning. And we obviously got a lot of stuff to talk about across the planet. And we've got our rounds of stupidity down here. We've got the Ballon d'Or. We've got stuff with Dominic Badji, and we got plenty. But here's opening kickoff. Morning, Sharif. And here's opening kickoff, once again brought to you by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Where's my hand? Maybe if I put my elbow in the way. All right, there we go. That's your QR code, the one in the middle, for those of you who are watching on either the SDH YouTube channel, on the Twitters, or on Twitch. And don't forget, with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, use the code Soccer Down Here 15. You get 15% of the you get 15% off of your price, your full price, and they in turn take 10% reinvested into youth games and youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Quickly. There we go. Back to one QR code, but that starts off hour number 2. I was torn this morning about what to do for opening kickoff, but then I figured I would just go ahead and talk about legitimately how silly things can get sometimes. And so I don't know if you've heard about this particular tournament that is held on the planet. And it's a thing called the World Cup. And Miguel Delaney came up with an article, and it discusses where the new the 2034 World Cup is going to be held. And we'll get into Ballon d'Or and a bunch of other things here in just a little bit. But it appears that in 2034, the World Championship Tournament is going to be held in Saudi Arabia. And let me know if you are shocked and surprised by this. Beat 2, 3, 4. So this morning, and this came out about 8:30, Miguel Delaney over at the Independent, and you can kind of go through his Twitter account. You don't have to pay to read the article and go through the paywall. So it appears, according to the Delaney piece, that there is significant concern, in quotation marks, among domestic leagues around the world over how a Saudi Arabian tournament in 2034 is likely to cause an even greater disruption to the calendar than the one that happened in 2022. With particular frustration about how a decision that is now set to be a fait accompli involved almost no consultation with primary stakeholders. Once again, this is the Delaney wording from the article. While key figures and member associations are waiting to see how the bid process plays out ahead of final confirmation in the fourth quarter of 24, many are already concerned about how there's apparently been less transparency to this process than the bids for Russia in 2018, Qatar in 22, back in December 2010. Football Australia has confirmed that they would not be bidding for the 2034 tournament on Tuesday, leaving Saudi Arabia as the sole candidate for a tournament that's still 11 years away. And we still don't know about the 2027 tournament. That one's 4 years away. 2030 is set to feature matches in South America, Africa, and Europe. 2026 going to Central and North America. FIFA's rotation rules mean only countries from the Asian Football Confederation and Oceania were eligible for 34. That left basically Australia, New Zealand, and Saudi Arabia, as so many Asian countries rode in behind Saudi Arabia. Once again, that's Delaney's wording. Given they still had to come up with 3 new stadia in the space of 3 weeks before the deadline due to FIFA's rules, and remember it was supposed to be like a larger number than that, then they're like, no, just come up with 6. Various factors have combined to leave Saudi Arabia as the only candidate left. Delaney writes, this all comes amid a strong relationship between Gianni Infantino and Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman over the last half-decade. The global body's done more sponsorship deals with Saudi companies, including one with Visit Saudi for the 23 women's tournament in Australia and New Zealand that brought a revolt from the players. With Saudi summer set to involve unplayable temperatures and the World Cup going to 48 teams, however, the accommodation of the tournament is set to require far greater upheaval than that for the long and controversial build-up in 22. Sources within a series of major leagues around the planet are furious about how they just have not been involved in any discussions about this. World Leagues Forum released a statement back in March, January, February, March, 7 months ago, almost 8. Expressing concern about FIFA's unilateral decisions, in quotation marks, on the global match calendar, have since formed an alliance with FIFPro about connected issues. Other senior figures in football have raised the issue of how hosting the tournament in Saudi Arabia will involve all the same controversies as Qatar, from migrant labor to human rights, but on a much greater scale. Sources have pointed how Human Rights Watch have already accused FIFA of going against their 2017 human rights policy, something supposed to represent a major change after all the criticism for the 18 and 22 process. Article 7 says, quote, where the national context risks undermining FIFA's ability to ensure respect for an internationally recognized human rights, FIFA will constructively engage with the relevant authorities and other stakeholders and make every effort to uphold its international human rights responsibilities, end quote. There's particular frustration at how the reforms after the 10 to 15 period were supposed to bring complete transparency regarding World Cup hosting. with the process moved to one vote for each of the 211 member associations. Instead, for both 30 and 34, the member associations will have no real choice on bids and only get to vote to ratify decisions already taken elsewhere. FIFA would argue, this is Delaney, that they have conformed to all of their statutes since each of the continental confederations approved the decisions at council, with those representing the member associations, and all the bidding documents have been made public. Sums up everything that's wrong with football governance, one senior league figure said privately, with others adding how the lack of transparency feels worse than for 2022. Meanwhile, a belief Saudi Arabia could yet bring in other countries to share some of the games, since it'll be a 48-team tournament, and the idea of involving Egypt, Greece, and other countries around the geographical region has already been raised. So, Saudi Arabia set to host 34 after Football Australia has backed out. So that's where we are. Ballon d'Or was yesterday. I'm going to kind of continue this into opening kickoff. So Ballon d'Or was yesterday. And, it went to Messi, and that's cool. I get it. That's perfectly fine. Bonmati claimed the women's Ballon d'Or. But the presentation, once again, was kind of tone deaf. So it was really cool that Emi Martinez got to have his dad present the award to him, which I thought was very, very cool. And Messi giving a nod to Maradona on his birthday. Very, very cool. So when Bonmati comes in and she gets the Ballon d'Or Feminine, who comes in to present the award? Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic, who, A, doesn't play soccer and really doesn't hold his peers in the same regard. Back in 2016, Novak Djokovic said how lady tennis players are riding the coattails of the men's tour and should get down on their knees at night and give thanks. This is the guy that they had give the award to Bonmati for the Ballon d'Or Feminine. Just saying. So, I can't, it's just the tone deafness continues, not necessarily a surprise, but Messi getting his 8th. Very, very cool. 9, 10, 11, 12, 4 in a row, 15, 19, and 23. 21 and 23. Increases his lead over 5-time winner CR38. He was not on the short list for the first time since 2003. And so Inter Miami, did you see the photo of him on the private jet with Jorge Mas holding the Ballon d'Or? I guess coming back to the States. And apparently they are not now, Inter Miami is not doing the trip to China because of a problem with the promoter. So they are not going overseas. Jude Bellingham won the Copa Trophy for the best young player. Not necessarily a surprise there either. A lot of folks are saying that Jude Bellingham basically is a Ballon d'Or in waiting. Erling Haaland, 2nd. Mbappe, 3rd. Haaland won the Gerd Mueller Trophy for his record-breaking goal haul last season. Man City, Team of the Year. 5 players in the Ballon d'Or top 10. De Bruyne, Rodri, Julian Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, and Haaland, all top 10. So 5 in the top 10 were Manchester City players. Bonmati won the Golden Ball, best player of the World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, recently named UEFA Women's Player of the Year. Second Spanish player to win the Ballon d'Or Feminine after Alexia Putellas won in the last 2 seasons. Sam Kerr, second. Mary Earps finished 5th, winning Golden Glove. Emmy Martinez obviously winning for best keeper. Ballon d'Or top 30. Here's your Ballon d'Or top 30. Messi, Haaland, Mbappe, De Bruyne, Rodri, Vinicius Jr., Alvarez, Osimhen, Bernardo Silva, Luka Modric. That's your top 10. Salah, Lewandowski, Bunu, Gundogan, Emmy Martinez, and legitimately after last year, you could include Gundogan as a Manchester City player as well. So 6 in the top 15. Emmy Martinez, the top keeper at 15. Benzema, Kvaratskhelia, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, Lautaro Martinez, Griezmann, Min-Jae Kim, Onana, Saka, Vardiol, Musiala, Barella, Odegaard, Kolomowani apparently were tied at 28, and Ruben Diaz was number 30. Bonmati, Kerr, Perejuelo, Rolfo, Earps, Olga Carmona, Alexandra Pop, Guijarro, Caicedo, Rachel Daly. That's your top 10 on the women's side. But no real surprise once again. Lionel Messi gets the Ballon d'Or, but it's the presentation of the Ballon d'Or Feminine rubbed me the wrong way. I know that probably surprises a lot of you that something like that would rub me the wrong way. No. But once again, sadly, it does not surprise. Obviously, hour number 2, we'll get into other things when it comes to what's going on around the news of the AM. Now, one more thing in opening kickoff. Sheffield Wednesday, not Sheffield United, currently the team that's last in the Premier League, but Sheffield Wednesday, the team that's last in the championship. 8 points adrift of safety right now. 2 points behind QPR, who've had a coaching change. 3 points behind Rotherham. All 3 are not into double digits yet this year. Their owner, Defon Chansiri, says fans need to raise £2 million to stop the club from falling into 3 straight transfer embargoes. I need you. Help me help you, is what Defon Chansiri is basically saying. You need to fork over £2 million to save us from the debt of His Majesty's Royal and Customs, basically the tax man in England. Their outstanding tax debt has not been paid, and the owner said last month he no longer wants to put money into the club due to fan anger. Hey, fans, drop £2 million into the club to save yourselves from the tax man, because I ain't doing it. Then it's $2 million, and it'd be clear, so we can finish it. I don't know what the average attendance is right now at Sheffield Wednesday. I hope I didn't freeze, Alex. It was just wobbly. 20,000 people. So the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, and like I said, they're worse. They're the worst team in the championship, and they're probably heading back to they are probably heading back to League One. If 20,000 of you gave $100, that's $2 million. That would, and this is Chansiri. Here he keeps going. This is from the Sheffield Star. That would cover everything. HMRC and the wages. So basically, hey, fan. I'd love to get John Hark's thoughts on this. That would cover everything. His Majesty's Royalty, Customs, and the wages. Basically, taxes and wages. That would need to be done before November 10. So you've got 11 days. If they don't want to pass the 30, But that means there can be no next time. If we were to hit 30 days, then we'll get a ban for 3 windows. Quote, why would I need to play a game? If I don't pay my staff and they get mad with me, then my club is going to be worse. If the staff don't get money, they don't do their job and the club is worse off. Why would I take the risk to make problems for my people? That is my last choice to do. You do not understand how important this club is to me and my family. I've been here 9 years and it's a part of my life. But he wants fans to fork over £2 million. Hey, if there's 20,000 of you, fork over £100 each. That'll take care of the wage bill and the tax bill. Y'all can do it. Last month, he hit out at the Sheffield Wednesday supporters, announcing he was no longer putting money into the club due to the poor treatment he received from the fan base. The businessman who sacked the guy that got them promotion in June over contract demands, this is once again our friends at Sky, said the insults he and his family had received had become too much. But from now on, I will not put additional money into the club. If you say you are the owner and I'm the custodian, then show me how to be the good owner and help save your club. You want me to leave, but you want me to spend money. If you want me to leave, then show me how to run the club and invest the money before I do that. You have no right to ask me to leave. I'm the one who saved the club and spent the money for the club. I'm the one who needs to pay around $2 million on average every month. Some fans need to have more respect for owners of clubs and not be so selfish, thinking of their own benefit without doing anything good to the club. This is not acceptable. And as a result, I am not willing to inject more money while I'm being treated unfairly by those fans, end quote. So Davon Chansiri, the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, is so damn mad that he's getting called out. He's not spending any more money. And he wants the fans to pony up. He wants 20,000 fans, in theory, to pony up £100 apiece to pay the tax bill and the wage bill, because he doesn't want to do it because he's getting yelled at by the fans for firing the manager that got them promoted and not paying the club and not investing in the club after owning it for 9 years. He wants out. Exactly. Poor rich person. Tafka, you're spot on. Davon Chansiri. Bruh. Oh, God. Oh, man. I feel sorry for Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, I will say this. If I can find my Sheffield Wednesday jersey, I will wear it. I feel sorry for Jessica Charman and what she's going through at Reading. I feel sorry for Sheffield Wednesday supporters right now. And you know, just when we thought, I mean, you've got, all right, Sheffield Wednesday is dead last in the championship. Reading right now in League One, because of their points deduction, they're dead last. 8 points from safety, having played 14 matches. Lost 5 in a row. Wigan is right there on the verge of relegation. They had an 8-point financial deduction. Reading has had 3 successive deductions. They're now 4 points this time, waiting on another one. Bottom of League One. 3 wins in their first 14. And I know, and Michael, and that's the thing. That rant from the owner of Sheffield Wednesday reminded me of the rant from Dabo Sweeney discussing his $12 million contract and being 4-4. Literally, I was trying to think of ways to substitute Clemson and Dabo Sweeney into this discussion about Sheffield Wednesday because it sounded like the same thing. It literally sounded like the same thing. And I can tell you that Kevin from Spartanburg or whoever that was would definitely – Tyler from Spartanburg. I was close. But, yeah, if Tyler from Spartanburg would want the job, I'm sure that Tyler from Spartanburg would take it. Wouldn't necessarily last very long. But I legitimately was thinking, as I was yelling about what Dave Fonchanseri, the owner of Sheffield Wednesday, told the Yorkshire paper, I literally had the Dabo Swinney situation running through my head. So I don't know if Dabo is – you see, they're going to have to, for college football down here. And by the way, you can go over to the OSG Sports side of things and listen to our weekly show that comes out on Sunday afternoons. But I think that Clemson is going to get to a point to where they're not going to fire Dabo, but it might come to some kind of a mutual agreement, a mutual parting of the ways, and Dabo will go to and do whatever he wants to do from this moment forward. But, yeah, I literally was taking Sheffield Wednesday's owner and substituting Dabo Swinney's head into that whole discussion. Yes. So Michael Head doing a public service, linking us to the Tyler from Spartanburg conversation. You're not going to talk to me like I'm 12 years old. I need 20,000 of you to pay $100 a piece. That'd take care of the tax bill and the wage bill. You do it. You don't tell me how to run my club. Dabo, I'm not going to sit here and let you – I don't care how much money I make. You're not going to talk to me like I'm 12 years old. It's amazing how much symmetry there is sometimes. The other part of stupidity down here today has to do with Dominic Badji. And sadly, people think that because they have how do we phrase this? They have their own mouthpiece that they can say whatever the heck they want. The answer is no, you can't. On his, I'm guessing this is on his IG because of the font. Some jackass, and I'll go ahead and name him, and I hope that, I don't know if his account still exists on whatever social media this was on, but like I said, I imagine it was on the IG. Miguel.m.cisniega decided to do some really stupid and racist stuff on Dominic Badji's Instagram account. I mean, and it is base, it is stupid, it has no place in any part of our lives. I don't care what you think about what Dylan Nealis did to Dominic Badji in Game 1 of the series with Red Bulls and FC Cincinnati. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think about, Dominic Badji basically taking a right jab and hitting Nealis clean in the sternum. This is apart from that. The fact that Dominic Badji got no card, not a surprise, sadly. And so on Dominic Badji's Instagram, he got just some of the most stupid things said to him. And so on his Twitter, he responded, "Being racially abused is a deeply painful reminder of the persistent racism that lingers in our society. Racism has no place in our world. No one should endure such injustice based on their ethnicity or race. I pray for more peace, love, and positivity." As do we all. Dominic Badji, the guy who did that on his Instagram, needs to be found out, needs to be banned from social media, and frankly needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. That's just me. We're hitting our marks a little early today. We're like the airplane that has the tailwind. We have a tailwind today with all of our flight plans, And so we're going to whiplash from opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Once again, there's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch, and I'm going to block out the QR code for hour number 2 with my hands. There we go. I think I got it. Once again, go to our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off your purchase. They, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game and the youth initiatives from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So there we go. That's opening kickoff. It was elongated. We got to catch up with our friend Lucas Panzica in Nashville about Orlando and Nashville. We got to do Ballon d'Or and the subsequent stupidity of all of that, plus some stupidity down here. Now let's have some fun. Let's have some fun and catch up with our friends at Soccer in the Streets. Hanging out with us, the executive director of Soccer in the Streets, Elijah Miranda.
Good morning.
Good to see you, my friend.
How are you?
Doing all right. And the reason that we had you on is somewhat 3 or 4-fold. And what I wanted to do was have an education for those who might know about Soccer in the Streets, but not necessarily know everything about Soccer in the Streets. I wanted to have folks have an education about that, how it has grown, what it's like for you to be the executive director, what it's like to see it continue to grow, all these kinds of things. But there's something else coming up, and I believe that friend of the show, Ricky Bevington, might be a part of it. And we will discuss that as well. So what I will do, that is the itinerary. Where would you like to start? Would you like to start talking about Soccer in the Streets, or do you want to hit folks really hard with footy ball coming out of the blocks? Your call.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The first thing I want to talk about is Kickoff Coffee. I feel like I should have put on my Kickoff Coffee shirt, So that's a brand that was started, I think, by Melissa Ortiz. I think she's one of the, former Colombian national team players. I'm Colombian. My family's from Colombia, and so yeah, I just think it's an amazing brand. I love what they're doing. So when I saw you pop it up, I was like, wait a second, I got one of their T-shirts for sure. So yeah, people ask me about it all the time. So it's really cool, actually. So
all right, so your call. You want to talk? You want to talk about Soccer in the Streets, or do you want to let folks know about what's going on this weekend?
Let's talk about Soccer in the Streets, because there's just been so much cool stuff happening, the momentum, the potential, what we're doing, how we're impacting Atlanta, and, kind of being in this role, John, one of the things that I've seen is just how community partners, corporations, organizations have just really fully embraced what we're doing to bring the beautiful game to children for free in Atlanta. So yeah, I mean, I kind of started as executive director earlier this year. So January, came from an organization down in Thomasville, Georgia, so way down south. And honestly, this is a dream job for me. It's this perfect intersection of professional passions, so advocating for youth, giving children access. I have a background in public health. We've been very intentional about focusing on physical and mental well-being and that intersection there. And, so that kind of thing. And then personal passions, the beautiful game, being from Colombia, playing, growing up, I have children that play, I've coached, I've played, I've reffed, still play as long as my knees hold up, just really enjoy it. And just seeing what Soccer in the Streets has been able to build, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, has been amazing to witness. So, founded in 1989, believe it or not. So I think that's something that people don't necessarily realize. So we'll be 35 years old next year, which is kind of crazy to believe. And, obviously bringing access, right? So free soccer to communities across Atlanta. And one of our biggest initiatives has been our Station Soccer program. And so just this past Friday, we had this amazing launch of our 6th Station Soccer, which was Eastlake. And our boy Jason Longshore emceeing the event. It was fantastic to see him there. And, we just had these incredible partners. The city of Atlanta was there. Amazon hosted, MARTA doing their thing. Georgia Power, who donated the lights, these amazing LED lights that are just going to be fantastic. And so it's just incredible to kind of bring these people together. On top of that, Senator John Ossoff was there, and he actually helped push through a $1 million appropriations bill to support Soccer in the Streets here in Atlanta. So it's just been incredible to see how that's worked. Every time we open up one of these stations, John, it's like 250 kids, boom, into that space. And, the crazy thing is, honestly, I said this on Friday, it's been amazing. I get chills thinking about it. It's been amazing to see the transformation of a space from parking lot to a football pitch, to 2 football pitches. And you think about that. And, I've spoken to people in the neighborhood and they were like, nobody used that side of the parking lot anyways. I'm so glad you guys are here. You know what I mean? We were told by people that there were kids getting up to play soccer at 6 in the morning before like the nets were up, and so as soon as they saw that turf, John, they were out there kicking the ball, up till 10:30 at night. It's incredible. So that just tells you, for me, obviously it warms my heart and just fills me up that like we're creating spaces for children and adults to play. So that's kind of the cool thing too, is that like, we talk about access for children and free access, but the cool thing is that there's also adult leagues that are happening. So when our kids stop practicing at like 8 or 8:30, at 9 o'clock, there are adults stepping onto that pitch to play adult pickup 5v5. And that's my game. I can't play 11s anymore, John, but I can do 5v5 pickup, So it's just been incredible to kind of see how we're impacting, close to 1,500 kids a year on the station soccer pitches, in schools, in parks. And we're creating these safe spaces for community, right? And that's the really cool thing. It's like this was a dilapidated part of a parking lot that's now been converted into green space, and there'll be gardens there, and there'll be kids there, and families and grandparents, and it's just really cool. We consider ourselves very fortunate that this is what we get to call our job, for sure.
First question for you, coming from Thomasville: Bulldogs or Yellow Jackets?
Bulldogs. So my wife is a Bulldog. So she went to Thomasville High School. Great question. I love it. She's a Bulldog. And then we met at the University of Georgia. So it was like a no-brainer. So we're Bulldogs through and through.
Okay, because, as one of the other me's, I know what goes on and I know what Friday nights mean there in Thomasville, especially come War of the Roses time.
Yes.
But what we've also seen in Thomasville, especially with Thomasville High the last couple of seasons, is growth on the high school soccer side, where they're making deep runs into the playoffs. And it's really cool that we got to see on the high school side. What's it been like for you to come from Thomasville, where sport is growing, and bringing that, that energy and enthusiasm up here to Atlanta to be a part of something? What was it like for you to see how things are growing down there off of Georgia 300 and coming north here to Atlanta to take over?
I love the love for South Georgia. I love it. Yeah. So, Coach Peterson down there has done an incredible job building a fantastic team down there. And like you said, they've had some great runs into the playoffs. They won a state championship a few years ago. And so, obviously, like I said to you, I play quite a bit. And so there was a regular pickup game that I was playing in down in Thomasville a couple days a week. And, there was about 15 guys or so, right? So pretty small. And then you come to Atlanta and it's just another level. And so the energy, the hype, I don't think that I really knew how much of a soccer city Atlanta was, John. You know what I mean? I've kind of heard that a little bit, but then kind of being here, kind of seeing the space and the supporters groups and, being able to attend more Atlanta United games. My favorite person to go to an Atlanta United game is my 11-year-old daughter. She is the best cheerleader. She is like, let's go. Come on, Almada. You know what I mean? And she's just like, she loves the energy. She brings the energy. She loves the energy in the stadium. And so that's been really cool to kind of be a part of that and kind of grow my own kind of like appreciation for Atlanta as a soccer town. But again, it's young kids, it's high school kids, it's adults. This town is just like, they have a hunger for these spaces. And so for me, it's like amazing that we get to create these spaces for children and adults to play the beautiful game. You know what I mean? I grew up in Columbus is where I grew up. And, I played growing up there. And then my wife and I, after UGA, spent 8 years in New York City. So I played a lot of soccer in New York City too. And that was really amazing to kind of see that. And then when we went to South Georgia, it was a little bit of like, obviously, just not quite, you didn't just see enough of it for me. And so, it's great to kind of see it kind of growing all over the city. And that's what's great about, Atlanta United and the foundation there and the Blank Foundation. They've got that Georgia 100 initiative where they're building these pitches all across the state. I think one of the things that we've seen, and when we talk about this, is this idea of hardware versus software, right? So you can build a pitch, but you have to have the software. You got to have the people to actually program on those pitches. And so I think that's one of the things that's really important for us kind of moving forward is how we at Soccer in the Streets can continue to kind of train coaches, identify partners in other parts of the state that can potentially raise the profile of the game. Because, one of the things that I've heard as far as World Cup 2026 is that that's not just for the city of Atlanta. They really wanted to be Georgia's World Cup as well. How does it impact the entire state and kind of raise the profile?
Did Elijah hit a button? I think he might have hit a button. We were just talking with Elijah Miranda with Soccer in the Streets. There he goes.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So we're catching up on Soccer in the Streets. Is that one of the bigger challenges that Soccer in the Streets has, you think, when it comes to its continued growth from what you've been able to see in your time as executive director, is just the hardware versus software discussion and making sure that there's the impact can be made and can be made consistently?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously conversations that we have is obviously around, capacity, right? And, whenever we talk to people about Soccer in the Streets, I tell everyone our coaches are our secret sauce because, we're not necessarily looking for the next Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, or Sir Alex Ferguson, right? We're not looking for that, but, that person that wants to, again, be an advocate for a child, be that supportive adult in their lives. Because, again, my the background that I have kind of in the mental health space and behavioral health space, we know that children that have experienced trauma or, other forms of adversity in their lives, when they have one supportive adult in their life, John, it can make such a tremendous impact. And that can be a teacher, that could be a grandparent, that could be a parent, but that can also, oftentimes, it can be a coach who's just there to be supportive and who really kind of interacts and just understands the child. Because one of the things that we talk about is, right, so maybe when we were growing up, if you were having a bad day at practice, your coach might be like, all right, go run 3 laps, right? Now, when we look at things that how maybe impact how children kind of deal with impact or adversity these days, we think about what did that child go through today, right? So that really kind of trauma-informed lens that we're thinking about, what did that child experience today? Because, Soccer in the Streets, we intentionally focus on neighborhoods that have fewer resources, that are underserved, to bring these resources to kind of equal the playing field when it comes to coming up against models that are like that kind of pay-to-play model that exists.
All right. Some of our folks in the Twitch pitch with some comments this morning. Our buddy Alex Bassine says the new shirt sales proceeds for a Sheffield Sunday donated to Soccer in the Streets, just like last time. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Sheffield Sunday. Kefsey is actually on the train going by some of the pitches. He said loves it right now and it looks good. And question from our buddy Tafka. And Tafka, the artist formerly known as the Prince of Soccer, thus Tafka. Question. Are there any plans in the works for some kind of showcase to the world when World Cup 26 gets here? Legends tournament, something? Tafka wants the world to see a one-of-a-kind transit-linked urban soccer system.
I feel like this guy's been sitting in our meetings. Man, that's, yeah. So we've had some really, really cool conversations. We've had conversations with the Atlanta Sports Council. There are some really cool ideas currently that we're just kind of marinating and trying to figure out. Obviously what's really, really cool are the other potential world-class events that are coming to the Bends, right, that we can be a part of. So this past summer, we had the Premier League here, and they did a showcase with our children, and so they got to meet Miguel Almiron. Maybe some of them, it wasn't the first time, so Miguel Almiron came by the pitch, so Newcastle came by. They got to receive training, not just for our kids, but also for our coaches from Aston Villa, from Brighton and Newcastle coaches. So it was really, really a cool experience. And then the last day was them actually getting to meet some of these players and have like a Q&A with them, which was really kind of neat. And then go watch a game, which was just these, those are the kinds of experiences that we want to create for the children that we serve across Atlanta. So as far as the World Cup, John, oh man, we've talked about this idea about how cool it would be to kind of use our stations, and what if we turn them into nations, right? So imagine the countries that we're hosting here in Atlanta, right? Think about the group stage matches. Imagine, if one of them was, Senegal or Morocco or Holland or Colombia, right? You know what I mean? If you turned a station into Colombia and there was Colombian music and Colombian food, Maybe you had a Colombian legend or two. My dream would be to have El Pibe Valderrama, right? That would be my dream, is to have Valderrama, right, with the hair. He still got it too. I follow him on Yeah, he's not letting it go. He's still holding on to it. I follow him on IG, and I love his content. To have him at one of our stations, for our kids to meet them. I mean, during the summer, Navi Solano, the Newcastle legend, right? So from Peru, we had a Peruvian family, and they were in awe. They got to meet. I mean, they got to meet someone who was a captain of the national team. I mean, it was just an incredible experience. I mean, that family probably took 25 or 30 pictures with Navi Solano, and they were just grinning from ear to ear. So if we think about that, I feel like that's a really cool experience. I mean, the potential, there's so much potential out there, John, for sure.
All right. So last thing I wanted to catch up with you about is not this Friday, but next Friday on the 10th. Folks might need to dress a little warmly, but Footy Ball 2023 presented by Atlanta United at the Monday Night Garage over on Lee Street from 7 to 11. And it's food and drink and hanging out with your friends. Goat Rodeo is going to be there for music. Gates open at 7 o'clock. Break it all down for folks that haven't heard, was like, oh no, I've got to go. I've got to figure this out. I've got to put this on my calendar. What's going on?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is our big kind of annual gala. It's a little bit more toned down, so not too stuffy. So Monday Night Garage, so kind of a cool vibe. So we love the venue. Excited. It's our first time being at this venue. It's going to be a lot of fun. So great music, great drinks, live music. Now, I will tell you, there are some really, really cool auction items this year. So there's a Jamaican vacation. That's going to be pretty amazing. I actually won this auction last year and got to spend a week in Jamaica. It was amazing. It was fantastic. We also have some signed gear from Miles Robinson. So we actually have an Atlanta United signed kit and a U.S. men's national team signed kit by Miles Robinson, which is really cool. And so this is for the other football fans. Believe it or not, we actually have 4 owner suite seats to the SEC championship. These are tickets that you cannot buy. This is like an invitation only. So we have these that we're gonna be auctioning them off, which is a really amazing opportunity for those SEC, hopefully UGA fans out there. It'll be us playing in that SEC championship. But the Footy Ball, I mean, I was able to attend last year. It was my first one last year. Such a good time. Again, just great energy. A lot of soccer people. Love the vibe. I mean, helping us raise money for Soccer in the Streets as we continue to grow and offer programming to children all across Atlanta. We're at 6 stations. 2024, John. Oof, man. We're gonna add a 7th. The goal is to get to 10 by 2026.
Okay.
And it's just one of those things where there's just so much momentum for the game, and obviously, I mean, we haven't even talked about U.S. Soccer and their decision to make Atlanta their headquarters, and how that definitely is something that we are going to be a part of as well. They've reached out to us. We've already begun to have conversations, and so it's just really exciting. Again, I mean, if you can't tell how energetic I am about being in this role, John, then I'm doing my job wrong. So, but it's just a pleasure that I get to do this. And again, I just want to say thank you again to Jason for emceeing and all the support across Atlanta for sure.
Elijah Miranda from Soccer in the Streets. My friend, great to have you on to break everything down for Footy Ball and what's going on with Soccer in the Streets. Thanks for the education this morning. And may you shatter every record known to mankind, not this Friday, but next Friday, November 10, for Footy Ball 2023. Thanks for hanging out with us here on SDH. We'll catch up soon, my friend.
Thanks, John. Have a good one.
All right. That's Elijah Miranda, who is the major boss, executive director at Soccer in the Streets. Very, very cool. Footy Ball 2023 over on the south side at Monday Night Garage. We posted the link to tickets and the auction in the Twitch pitch. And so you can go to Soccer in the Streets on their website. You can get more information. You can go to the link that we posted. You can register for the auction items. You don't have to be there at Footy Ball 2023. I'm probably going to end up registering just so I can kind of see how much money I would be bankrupting the boss come the holiday season. Check out some of the items. But if Elijah said that he won the Jamaica vacation last year, I got to keep an eye on that. But once again, thanks to our friends at Soccer in the Streets for the education this morning. It was great to catch up with them and find out what's going on in the world with Soccer in the Streets and with Footy Ball. Once again, Footy Ball 2023, Friday, November the 10th. Not this Friday, but next Friday at Monday Night Garage over on Lee Street. So once again, you can be a part of Soccer in the Streets and be a part of the continued growth here in the city with station soccer and everything else that they're doing. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Soccer in the Streets. Once again, the link to the event and all of the stuff is in the Twitch pitch. And so you can also go to the website for Soccer in the Streets and get all the information that you need there. Soccerstreets.org. Soccerstreets.org. And click on the banner for Footy Ball 2023. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Soccer in the Streets as they get ready for their big fundraiser coming up this year at the end of this season. All right, so we've blown past the top of the hour. And so that means I've got to fix the music, and I've got to fix the levels of the music, and I've got to make sure that you guys can hear me as I hit a button and read a promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Eliminize Service. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process, and thank you, Ricky Ricardo, for telling me about that. I believe you. It's a turnkey process, makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. We like green. We like being kind to the environment. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that you may have either under the sink or above you in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, you take out that masking agent. You spray the masking agent in the air. There's a reason it's called a masking agent, because all it does is mask the odor. It doesn't attack the problem like our friends at Eliminize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, and come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. You have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website. And this is where I grab my pen. Website's eliminize.com, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your problems. Full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta. Eliminize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH, as we have your Tuesday thoughts. And we try the slow fade, which will never really work. So, well, about as close as I get. Getting it to 8 as opposed to having it at like 12 or 13, sit there and slam it down and slam it down and slam it down. So, okay, so that was your halftime promo, shortly past halftime. But once again, thanks to our friends at Soccer in the Streets for letting us know about all that and being able to kind of share what's going on with all of you about all of that. Yeah, Michael, we were talking about it before you hopped on, where Saudi is going to be the 2034 host of the world competition. We're all thrilled. Congratulations, Mazel Tov, good on you. Yes, and Michael says just what no fan wanted, just what FIFA and no fan wanted. So, yeah, we went over that in hour number 1. Suffice to say that, a lot of us are less than pleased. So, we got that. Other Premier League stuff going on, and there's some stories in the Prem and whatever's on your mind here for Tuesday Thoughts as we get you ready for what's going on. We mentioned all the financial issues going on with teams in the lower divisions, especially at Sheffield Wednesday. Good Lord, save us from Defon Chansiri. Okay, here's a question for you. And then this just popped up. So this is like a random QOD for the remainder of the show. Random question of the day. If you won the lottery, would you buy a soccer club with either some or all of your winnings, and which one would it be? Which team that you have the emotional attachment to? If you won the lottery and it was a reasonable amount of money, and others in your family would back you up with this decision that you made, and not completely and be angry and sit there and go, what are you doing, and ask for a divorce or something. If your family backed you and you won the lottery, would you buy a soccer club, and which one would it be? I know that Alex probably would end up buying Newcastle from the PIF. But we mentioned the problems with Sheffield Wednesday. Wolves are set to avoid future punishment by the Premier League after their £140 million summer sale of players. 17 players left in the summer. 17. They tried to not get sanctioned for breaking profit and sustainability rules, otherwise known as FFP. Everton facing a possible points deduction. Wolves are confident that they will avoid that charge. The Telegraph learned that if Wolves had failed to raise around $90 million this summer, club could have been in real trouble next year. Neves, Jimenez, Collins, Cody, and then Lopetegui left because he was mad that he wasn't getting any investment. Mateus Nunes to Manchester City for $53 million. $140 million. They needed what they thought was about 90. They cleared that and got to about 140. Nunes was $53 million. Remain under temporary restrictions and will not be spending big in the January window. Club midway through their critical final 12 months of a 3-year cycle to comply with FFP. Profit and sustainability rules. Premier League rules state a club is in breach of financial regulations if they make an adjusted loss of more than $105 million over a 3-year period. Gary O'Neill, who was brought in for the express purpose of dealing with a club on a budget, has prioritized the addition of a number 9 forward, and Wolves owners Fosun are weighing up how much money can be made available. O'Neill's targeting a striker, so Mateus Cunha can be more of a free roll across the front three. Che Adams was under consideration in the final days of the summer window, could be revisited as a potential target. Understood that they have now dropped their interest in Salernitana's Boulaye Dia. Have no plans on selling any more first-team regulars. Pedro Neto committing his future to the club last week. Jose Sa recently signed a new deal. Talks are understood to have started with a defender Hugo Bueno over fresh terms. 5 league unbeaten right now under O'Neill. So what Wolves is doing, they're getting the check marks of everyone across the board. You are doing a good job, Wolves. So you got that. Chelsea, and once again, our Chelsea fans, I know that this will surprise none of them. The Premier League is scrutinizing Chelsea signings of Willian and Samuel Eto'o as part of a wider probe into offshore payments during Roman Abramovich's era. This is from Tom Morgan at The Telegraph. You know that when Tom Morgan is chasing after a story, there's probably a lot to it. Telegraph reported more than a year ago how concerns over a wide array of historic payments had been raised prior to Bowley Clearlake taking over. Just days before the £2.5 billion deal, £100 million was wiped off the sale price to cover, quote, unforeseen liabilities, end quote. Third-party sources involved in the deal suspected immediately Chelsea could be left at risk of FFP over these payments. The club dismissed such a prospect at the time. However, investigations by the league were launched after Chelsea's new owner subsequently voluntarily reported financial transactions between 2012 and 2019 to the FA, Premier League, and UEFA. Yeah, Michael, you're right. It was like 10 years ago, and this is the window that we're talking about here, 2012 to 2019. It has now emerged initially via a report in the Times newspaper that the incoming transfers of Willian and Samuel Eto'o, both from Anzi Makachkala in August of 2013, are part of the investigation. So August of 2013, Anzi Makachkala with Willian and Eto'o. That's what you're staring at. Payments may have been made to Russian entities as Willian joined Chelsea for £30 million before Eto'o joined on a free the day after. There is no suggestion either player had any knowledge of the payments. The Premier League, which once again can dock points or fine the ever-loving bejesus out of you, is understood to be interrogating millions of pounds paid to around 6 offshore companies. I could just see the question and answer session now. You're talking to a stack of dollars. Where did you come from? Did you enter this country? Where is your country of origin? You just have this vision of like Castle and Beckett or Andre Brower's character in Homicide: Life on the Street, just in the box with this pile of cash on the table. Where did you come from? Where is your origin? What were you used for? I just have this vision of like, in the cop episode when they're trying to interrogate the bad guy. Those kinds of things. Because the wording, the Premier League is understood to be interrogating millions of pounds. So you're talking to money? You're asking questions of the dollars themselves? You have that stack of 50, 10,000 pound notes. Where did you come from? Yeah, Michael, you're not wrong. We'll get to your comment in a second. Chelsea said in a statement, these allegations predate the club's current ownership. They concern entities that were allegedly controlled by the club's former owner and do not relate to any individual who's presently at the club. Chelsea comes up with they're cooperating. 2 more paragraphs. Checks by regulators after the club effectively became a frozen asset in March of last year prompted Chelsea to declare potentially huge unpaid liabilities to Bowley Clearlake at the 11th hour. Subsequently allowed to hold back almost 10% of the purchase price. During the Abramovich era, Chelsea's financial ecosystem, and once again, this is from Tom Morgan at The Telegraph. This is his words. Chelsea's financial ecosystem had been heavily reliant on offshore payments between the club and a series of interconnected companies. In his last full year of full ownership, Fordstam Limited injected around £150 million and withdrew around £130 to end the year, loaning the club an overall £19.9 million and taking the total related party loans to £1.5 billion. Roman Abramovich loaning to himself basically $1.5 billion. The loans were due to be repaid to Camberley International Investments Limited, a Jersey-based entity, which was the target of I'm Jersey meaning England, not Jersey meaning New Jersey. A Jersey-based entity which was the target of an asset freeze raid by authorities last summer. Roman Abramovich had already agreed to write off the debt when he put up the club for sale at the start of March last year. Premier League declined to comment. Club previously said after UEFA fine, Chelsea's fully cooperated. Due to Abramovich's status as a sanctioned Russian, the fund is supposed to be ending up at a foundation for Ukraine war victims, although it remains frozen in an account. And Michael Head, not too far off. Absurd, they're investigating stuff 10 years old. What about stuff from the last couple of years? They're as bad as the NCAA. You're not wrong. But maybe it takes that long to sit there and get everything orchestrated. Get all of our facts in line to figure out what the deal is. Who knows? But yes, this is an investigation that sounds very, very NCAA-ish. Very NCAA-ish with the investigation. And I know that this will surprise you, but when we started the show yesterday discussing Luis Rubiales and what he was charged with in his 3-year ban, shocking no one, he's appealing. He is appealing the 3-year ban from football. It was like a one-liner that came out yesterday in the afternoon after the 3-year ban was announced. He intends to appeal after FIFA made the announcement on Monday. Confirmed in a statement on social media that he's going to appeal the punishment. And I'm going to see if I can find the full statement because it is somewhat lengthy. But he ends it by saying he will go to the last resort. I will go to the last resort so that justice is done and the truth shines. Due to the many efforts of some politicians, media, and institutions, the disproportionate and injustice committed is becoming increasingly clear. So yes, he went on the 280 character app. People, very majority, are clear about it. And we're clear about it, all right. At Luis Rubiales 17 on the 280 character app, by the way. And it is literally a 4-page. It is a 4-page missive. It is 4 blanking pages where Luis Rubiales has said that he is going to appeal. We always talk about there will be billable hours. And Luis Rubiales is definitely going to be leaning into those billable hours. Statement from FIFA. FIFA reiterates its absolute commitment to respecting and protecting the integrity of all people and ensuring that the basic rules of decent conduct are upheld. In a lengthy statement, Rubiales criticizes the time frame of the FIFA procedure. And he added, I can only guarantee that in every moment I have maintained my version of the facts, which is the truth about what happened and which is the same that I'm going to maintain until the procedure finishes. Sure. Because remember, this is going through the Spanish legal system. The FIFA has said what they're going to say. No confirmed date yet for the elections in choosing the next federation president over in Spain. So you have that. Laius Cervello Herrero from The Athletic. Speaking to The Athletic, the players of the Spain roster, sources close to several of them, not speaking publicly, said the group felt that for the first time in their long struggle for better working conditions and professional standards, things were beginning to change. They also said they now feel a real need to disconnect from their activism, take refuge in only playing football for a while. They will feel further progress has been made with Rubiales' ban, but all this has come at a cost. So, yeah, Luis Rubiales, he's going to appeal. He intends to appeal, going to the last resort. Sure. You go right ahead. So this will not be the end of it, sadly, when it comes to Luis Rubiales. I know we keep drifting back into the Premier League, but you know how we were talking about how, and we do have some stuff with Kai Wagner coming up in just a little bit. You know how we were talking about where the Premier League has decided to play, was it Chelsea and Wolves, the first Premier League game in 28 years on Christmas Eve? So for us here on the East Coast, it would be Christmas Eve day, right, with the bowl games. Morgan Ofori at The Guardian, a Wolves fan group has labeled the decision as uncaring. Supporter groups from all 20 clubs have called on the Premier League to reverse the decision to reschedule Wolves and Chelsea for Christmas Eve this year. Moved to fulfill broadcasting requirements, the Football Supporters Association called the decision, quote, a huge kick in the teeth for match-going fans, and has released separate statements from organizations in their network highlighting their disapproval. Statements include responses to the proposed match from Chelsea's three main supporter organizations and the Wolves fan group, Wolves 1877 Trust. Chelsea Supporters Trust said they will urge the Premier League to consult supporters on the matter and reverse the decision in a meeting that will be held very soon. Quote, since rumors began to circulate on the issue, the Chelsea Supporters Trust has been clear selecting this kickoff time will place another hurdle in the way of many match-going supporters. Not only could this lead to staffing issues at Molineux, but holiday transport timetables will further inconvenience supporters. Outlined opposition on the basis of the ongoing impact of the cost of living crisis, increasing demands on loyal fans from Wolves and Chelsea at a time of year that provides additional challenges is and should have been avoidable. The Premier League has not held a fixture on this date for 28 years. Why does it need to do so now? Wolves 1877 called the decision irresponsible, claimed the Premier League and broadcasters do not think about the logistics for fans, saying, quote, the Trust see the Premier League and broadcasters as uncaring and irresponsible in their decision-making processes. Repeatedly, they are late with their fixture change announcements. Repeatedly, they have disregard for the travel impacts on supporters due to scheduling changes. Trust said it would be seeking a direct meeting alongside the FSA, Premier League, and Chelsea Supporters Trust, and they have said that Wolves' failure to consult according to Premier League rules on matters that affect supporters disappoints them that the club has chosen not to use any of the channels available to them to consult with supporters. Liverpool's Spirit of Shankly group criticized the decision, asking why Sky Sports wants to steal Christmas, referring to the idea of Arsenal and Liverpool being floated before Christmas Eve 2017 before the idea was abandoned. Question, though. The TV contract is what the TV contract is. Where in the schedule, and this schedule has been laid out, and we all know that festive fixtures, as chaotic as it is, what would, and like I said, I am not saying that I am for a Christmas Eve match. I'm just asking the question. Where would you put it? Because right now, and we went through it when the fixture was initially released. I want to say that it's 3 fixtures within 8 days. It's either 3 or 8 and 3 and 9, I think, as a part of festive fixtures. But where would you put it otherwise then? Everything is built to specific windows. Everything is built towards specific time frames. And and if you slide something out, you might upset international windows and such. Where would these fan supporters groups suggest that this match be placed? And that's the thing, is like, if you want to address a situation, give me an alternative. Where would you put it? And then, I don't know, just not there. Work with me here. Where would you put it? That would be my question to the floor. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the Christmas Eve match. While, yes, it does give me something to watch while I'm stacking presents for the boss or something like that on Christmas Eve day here in the East Coast. I get it. I understand it. I know. But where would you put it? Legitimately, where would you put it? Like I said, that's just a question. Yeah, Michael, I'm sure it was initially scheduled for the 23rd of December on that Saturday. So that's, like I said, if you're looking at 3-7, 3-8, 3-9 as a part of festive fixtures. That's just how it goes. Like I said, let me from the supporters groups, let me know what you would do for an alternative. So, like I said, that's just me putting that out there. Where would you put it? Also, let's see what's other stuff this morning. I know that there's a lot. Oh, I wanted to get into the Kai Wagner thing. As we are getting ready for what's going on with the stuff came out yesterday with Tom Bogert et al. Over at The Athletic. And I wanted to bring this to the table to get you ready for the second match coming up in the series involving Philadelphia and New England. It was an incident that is now currently being investigated. Once again, Maurer and Bogert yesterday. This came up last night. The Revs have lodged a complaint with Major League Soccer alleging Philadelphia Union defender Kai Wagner used a racial slur against Revs striker Bobby Wood. MLS is conducting a review of the allegations, according to multiple sources briefed on the situation. Sources spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly about the situation. The Revs obviously declined comment. Union could not be reached for comment. MLS provided the following statement. Quote, MLS is aware of the allegation that a player used discriminatory language toward an opposing player, and a review of the matter is underway. The league has been working with the MLSPA and Black Players for Change on a process to address these types of allegations and will have no further comment during the pendency of the review. Pendency? Is that the process of something being pending? I've never heard of the word pendency before. See, now I'm going to have to sit here and look up the word pendency. Pendency. The state of being pending. Of course. All right. The complaint alleges around the incident occurred in the last moments of New England's opening round playoff game against the Union Sunday night. And this is the wording from Maurer and Bogert. Tense affair in general, and in the 87th minute, Revs forward Giacomo Vrioni fouled Nathan Harriel, for which he was issued a yellow. While the play was checked by VAR for a possible red, broadcast footage showed several other players from both sides exchanging words, including Wagner and Wood. Wagner, who is German, is alleged to have directed a slur at Wood in German at that point, the sources said. Wood speaks German and spent the first decade of his professional career and several years as a youth player in Germany. Players and coaches from the Revs alerted match officials about the alleged slur, and the incident was noted in referee Pierre-Luc Laziere's post-match report, according to the sources. Sources said the slur Wagner allegedly directed at Wood was one historically directed toward Asian people. Wood is of Japanese and African-American descent. Like I said, this is from the article at The Athletic, the wording of Pablo Maurer and Tom Bogert. This is not the first instance of alleged racial abuse in Major League Soccer this year. In July, DC United forward Taxi Funtas was accused of directing a racial slur at Nigel Roberta, his teammate. The league's investigation into the allegation, which was not Funtas's first, was never completed, as Funtas and United mutually agreed to contract termination. Earlier in the season, Red Bulls forward Dante Van Zier was suspended for 6 games for using a racial slur on the field against San Jose Earthquakes. Wagner is in the final year of his contract with the Union, seems almost certain to leave the club at the end of the year. He's drawn interest from clubs in Germany and the UK. He's been a crucial piece of the Union's success in recent years, All-Star 21-22, MLS Best 11 selection in 22 as well, making $630,000. Openly expressed his frustration at his pay and the Union's hesitation to increase his compensation. So that tail end have nothing to do with the incident itself, but Maurer and Bogert discussing the current status of Kai Wagner in the first place. So, once again, keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on this moment. And I will grab the link because Douglas Reyes Cerón for Fullcast After Dark and tied to the Lebitard show found the moment and has posted it to his Twitter. So this is Reyes Cerón's screen cap and capture of the incident. Reyes Cerón says, pulled up the archive for the match. Seems very obvious. Wagner says something and immediately upsets Bobby Wood enough to cause another shoving match. So keep an eye on Kai Wagner and his status for Game 2 when it comes to this current investigation. So we'll keep an eye on that going forward. You've got gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We'll get into other things here this morning. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, things left unsaid, what to watch as well. As we get into the gossip of the day after the Ballon d'Or. Real Madrid will not pay more than £17.5 million for 26-year-old keeper Kepa, who cost Chelsea a record $72 million 5 years ago. So Real Madrid's only going to pay like a quarter on the dollar for Kepa. Kepa cost Chelsea $72 million, and this is from the three-letter paper. So take the information at your own peril, obviously. But Real Madrid only wants to pay a quarter, basically, of what Chelsea paid for Kepa 5 years ago. Real Madrid won't pay any more than £17.5 million for Kepa. Juve could use the wages saved on Paul Pogba, who faces the lengthy ban over the failed drug test, to sign Arsenal's Thomas Partey on loan in January. Saudi Pro League officials want Kevin De Bruyne to join the league. He'd cost about £50 million. Arsenal's Mikel Arteta has added Real Sociedad's midfielder Martin Zubimendi and Real Madrid's midfielder Aurelien Tchouameni. So it's Zubimendi and Tchouameni to his list of transfer targets. He just wants to have names that go from one shoulder to the other, the back of the jersey. Fluminense, 22-year-old Brazil midfielder Andre would be open to a transfer. Liverpool still interested despite having a previous bid rejected. They will not sell Mo Salah in January, regardless of any offers from the Saudi pro. Marcus Rashford may have upset Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag by going to a nightclub after Sunday's derby defeat in Manchester. And where is that article? Because I know it exists. I saw it. I got to figure out which paper it was. It was, yes, the Telegraph. James Ducker. Marcus Rashford partied in a nightclub after Manchester United's derby defeat just hours before he was due to report for training on Monday morning. Understood to have attended the popular China White Night spot in Manchester City Centre until sometime past midnight for a birthday celebration that had been arranged by close friends prior to the loss at Old Trafford. Rashford, who turns 26 today, reported on time for training that morning, but his late-night celebrations may not go down well, with United fans frustrated by the manner of the defeat to Manchester City and the team's dismal start to the season. United are not thought to have been aware Rashford was going out, but there's no requirement for players to inform the club of such social engagements. It's like, no, I've got a birthday party. I'm going to go to Manchester City Centre to celebrate. Just figured I'd let you know. Rashford's friends are believed to have arranged for the intimate get-together in a private area at China White, which is popular with celebrities, and had arranged the celebration sometime in advance of the City game. United and Rashford's reps have declined to comment. Unclear what view Erik ten Hag takes of Rashford being out late ahead of a morning training session, but the United manager has strict disciplinary standards. This is Ducker. And the incident comes at a time when both player and club are struggling on the pitch. City's win saw United slump to a 5th defeat in their opening 10 Premier League matches and fall 8 points behind 4th place, with the club already facing an uphill battle to qualify for Champions League. 1 goal in 13 appearances this year. Ducker. He has looked a shadow of the player who scored 30 times last term, en route to earning a lucrative new 5-year contract in the summer. United face Newcastle in the Carabao Cup 4th round on Wednesday before playing Fulham, Craven Cottage 3 days later. And then the rest of the article from Ducker goes into a discussion about Manchester United. So no one looks like Marcus Rashford didn't phone up Erik ten Hag to go, bruh, I got a birthday party. Might be a little slow when it comes to being at practice in the morning. I'll be there. Might be a little slow, but I'll be there. There's also talk that Bruno Fernandes should be stripped of his captaincy at Manchester United. And I know, but that's, of course, coming from Roy Keane. I mean, he's the loudest. He's not the only one. But Keane saying the whining and moaning are not acceptable as his side crash to Manchester City. Demanded that Erik ten Hag strip Bruno Fernandes of his captaincy. 100%. I know it's a big decision. They changed it with Maguire, but Fernandes is not captain material. King captained Manchester United for 8 seasons. He's a talented player, no doubt about it. But I think what I saw today with him again, he's whining, he's moaning, he's throwing his arms up in the air constantly. It really isn't acceptable. What we saw today, I would take that off him. You have to start somewhere. We talk about board-level managers. I would start at that because the manager is capable of doing that and holding his hands up and saying, look, I got it wrong. Fernandes is a brilliant footballer, but in terms of captain material, he's the opposite of what I'd want in a captain. What do you want in a captain, Roy? When things aren't right at a club, one bad decision seems to follow another. Manchester United were doing it great 10 or 15 years. So he wants the good old days. Okay. You want Sir Alex. You want when you were captain. There's the rub. Read into it all you want. But you want the good old days. You want Sir Alex in charge. Man United were doing it great 10 or 15 years ago, and they would get a lot of credit and a lot of plaudits for the structure of the club. But now there seems to be chaos at the board level, which there is, and they're taking that onto the pitch, end quote. Ducker says that United are timid, pedestrian, rudderless, and disjointed. Roy Keane wants the good old days. Yeah, you want the good old days. 10 to 15 years ago. That's what you want. Manchester United have led for 29 minutes at Old Trafford this season. 29 minutes. That is a stunning number. 29 minutes this entire season. And that is crazy that it has gone that way. Yeah, Neil Warnock set to make a shock return for a third spell at QPR. We mentioned Sheffield Wednesday, and this was 3 weeks ago. Danny Roll, 34. First job as a manager after being an assistant to Hansi Flick. Under FA rules, coaches need governing body endorsement points, which are granted after managing in an elite league for 2 years. A brief hearing was held. Roll was given the green light to start at Hillsborough. As well as working for Flick, he coached at Leipzig, working his way up to assistant manager, was in Hasenhüttl's backroom staff at Southampton. Sheffield Wednesday, one of the first championship jobs to come up this season. But you'll bring in a 34-year-old, and you won't pay your players. Good work. Good job. Dayfon Chansiri. Vinicius Jr. has signed a new Real Madrid contract until 2027. And I know that we got into the activity in the lower divisions. We've got the championships and championship, and we've got championship in USL League One, and we have the semifinals in the USL Championship. Oh, traffic. I forgot to mention traffic. Since we started with Lucas Panzica at the beginning of the show, I forgot to mention the traffic for this week, for today. Traffic for today. Later today, it'll be the USL League One and the USL Champions League show. And then tomorrow, very, very busy day tomorrow, both on the live show and on tape. Obviously, we're getting you ready for Atlanta and Columbus tomorrow. And we'll do that in hour number 1. We'll get you ready out of the blocks, get you ready. Whatever your thoughts are for Atlanta United Columbus, we'll do that in hour number 1. Then 10 o'clock, busiest man in the East Coast, in the Northeast, Dylan Butler. Hopefully Dylan can join us, and then Bart joins us. Talked to Bart yesterday, and we will discuss reffing down here. We'll get into the USWNT. We'll get into the 2 friendlies that they had this past week, both against Columbia, and we'll get into what Bart thinks about the younger talent that got their chances in the second match, specifically against Columbia, the 3-0 win. We'll get into that. We'll get into some reffing down here. And also tomorrow for the afternoon, we're going to catch up with Doug Irwin in Greenville, catch up with the Greenville Triumph, hopefully have an interview with John Harkes coming up down the line before he exits and heads on to New Frontiers and other things in Greenville. We're going to catch up with one of the new franchises in the NPSL, DMV Elite, which will be kind of off-week competition for Annapolis Blues. So Annapolis Blues and DMV Elite. And so DMV Elite, we'll catch up with them tomorrow. And we'll also catch up with Sean McDaniel from Chattanooga Red Wolf. So we'll have 2 postmortems from USL League One here in the footprint with Greenville and Chattanooga. Those will be up late tomorrow afternoon. And DMV Elite and NPSL will have that on the network also for your listening pleasure later as well. On Thursday, Nico Moreno joining us at 10:30. Obviously, we will recap everything that happened with Atlanta and Columbus and spend the next 6 days getting you ready for matchup number 2. Then on Friday, we can whip around patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully, rather than later. And our friends from Beyond Goals hopefully can join us, and we'll catch up with them and get you ready for the weekend. So there's a lot of episodic stuff going on. There's a lot of episodes that'll be coming up, a lot of conversations this week on the network. And like I said, we'll have our League One and our championship programming coming up, and we'll catch up with teams in both of those leagues, obviously, as teams continue their seasons to disappear, and we will catch up with them as well. We had some we're starting to get some teams who are making their off-season decisions when it comes to who is going to not be a part of their futures. Jack Price, Diego Rubio have been parting. The Rapids have parted ways with Captain Jack Price and Diego Rubio. Price obviously missing the season with a right Achilles tendon injury, 2 goals and 35 assists over 6 seasons. And then Diego Rubio is gone as well, out of contract when Colorado made his exit official. 3-year stint with Sporting, joined the Rapids in 2019, and 5 seasons amassed 38 goals, 26 assists, and 114 appearances. So Jack Price, Diego Rubio out in Colorado. NYC made some decisions yesterday as well. And let me get the names right, because it was a handful of folks. They made their roster moves for 24. 5 players had their options exercised. Luis Barraza, Matt Freese, so 2 of their keepers had options exercised. Andres Jason, Kevin O'Toole, Gabriel Siegel. Club declined options on 7 players. Nico Benalcazar, Brian Cufre, Jonathan Jimenez, Alfredo Morales, Samuel Owusu, Matias Pellegrini, and Stephen Turnbull. Pellegrini will be an interesting one. Kleberson also is departing the club. David Lee, when he was asked about it, while we're certainly disappointed with how the season ended with us missing out on a playoff spot, I'd like to thank all the players for their commitment this season. It's never easy to make these roster decisions, but these moves give us flexibility to continue to improve the squad heading into 24. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Alfredo for playing a key role helping us win our first piece of silverware in 21. To all the departing players for their professionalism. Hope one day see them back in the organization in some capacity. So Morales and Pellegrini, keep an eye on those 2. But NYC exercising options on 2 of their keepers, Barraza and Freese, Jason O'Toole, and Gabriel Siegel. So we'll keep an eye on all of that stuff as we go forward here, because teams are going to be trickling out their names and all of their decision making for the off season and who's going to stay. Once your season is over, then you have X amount of time to sit there and go, okay, here's who's staying, here's who's not, and here is what the calendar is when it comes to all of the off-season dates. So as teams are eliminated in the playoffs, then you'll start to see some names drift through, and you'll sit there and you'll sit there. Oh, okay, that's an interesting one. No, that's okay. That's another interesting one. So we will keep an eye on the players who are hanging around and the players who are getting contract extensions. Ethan Barlow got a contract extension in Houston, and the Revs signed homegrown forward Malcolm Fry to a deal. Gregory got signed to a contract extension, by the way, with Inter Miami. We know that Ulloa and Joseph were part of the discussion for players who will not be a part of the future for Inter Miami. But Gregory got signed to a contract extension through the 25 season with an option for 26. Obviously, he was out most of the season with the foot injury, but you will have Gregory as a part of things. And don't be surprised if Gregory gets bought down to open up a DP slot so they can bring in that third DP. So we'll keep an eye on what's going on with Gregory going forward. Transfers, keep an eye on all of that. We've got Nations League and Women's Nations League today coming up in just a little bit. There's League One action, there's lower division stuff, and for all of you diehards, there's plenty to be keeping an eye on when it comes to all of the activity of today. Going through the papers themselves and the Times, get this. Eric Ten Hag has claimed Manchester United are incapable of playing like his successful Ajax team because the players in his squad are more accustomed to long ball football. Is that so? Okay. And keep an eye on that, avoiding the 3 and the 4-letter paper as we traditionally do. Daily Star, former Premier League flop Thomas Brolin quit football at 28 to sell vacuum cleaners. A couple of years after almost winning the Ballon d'Or. Neil Lennon has revealed he would consider taking over St. Johnstone. Livingston boss David Martindale refused to be drawn in on reports linking him with that vacancy. Lewis Ferguson doing well in Serie A, going to Bologna from Aberdeen. Some of the biggest names now in European football are said to be suitors for him. And we should ask Jarrett next time he shows up. Brendan Rodgers is planning a major January clear out at Celtic to free up space for signings. Barry Ferguson in the Daily Record anticipates that new Rangers manager Philippe Clement will be back to this January. Should be looking to close to home for one of his first signings. Alistair Johnston joined in Celtic training ahead of their clash with St. Mirren over his concussion scare, hopefully. Diego Simeone admits Atletico Madrid are finding it difficult amid a relentless run of games. Momentum keeping them smiling ahead of their Celtic rematch. Brendan Rodgers is also in no hurry to send James Forrest to the Celtic scrap heap because he's the one man in his squad who can give speed merchant Dyson Maeda a run for his money. So you've got all of that info through the papers. Thiago Silva admits that the end of his career is approaching. I mean, dude's 39, but you got to give him a lot of credit for sticking it out as long as he has and to be a significant portion of the teams that he's been at for as long as he has. They caught up with Eden Hazard at the Ballon d'Or ceremony. He says he doesn't miss playing football. I'm enjoying life and family and the kids. I can do what I want. It's a perfect life. Of course, I still watch it. I have kids. They play football, watch it on TV when I can. I do other things also, but at the moment, I don't miss playing football. Let's see in a few months. Lautaro Martinez has said he's happy at Inter Milan, despite rumors linking him to Real Madrid. 12 goals in his opening 13 matches in Serie A and in Champions League. Mikel Arteta says he may play Declan Rice against West Ham in the Carabao Cup. Thinks it'll be a really cool moment. Bayern Munich set to have talks with Thomas Müller over his future over the next few weeks. He's been a substitute recently under Thomas Tuchel. He's going to see his current contract expire at the end of the season. So we'll keep an eye on Thomas Müller. Neil Lennon would consider the St. Johnston job. No, they don't have a big budget. QPR have appointed Martí Cifuentes as their manager. The 41-year-old Spaniard from Hammarby in Sweden takes over for Gareth Ainsworth, who got sacked after their sixth straight loss, Saturday's home loss to Leicester City. 23rd in the table, 8 points, 14 matches. QPR CEO Lee Hoos, quote, "We're delighted to bring Martí in, and I would firstly like to thank Hammarby for being fantastic to deal with throughout the process." 4 sentences. Martí Cifuentes, now the head of QPR. There's no movement in the Jadon Sancho saga. Continues to train alone at Manchester United. Sky Sports News has been told a reconciliation is not impossible, but there is no movement. Ten Hag still wants the public apology for the social media post from September. Sancho effectively accused Ten Hag of lying, according to Sky Sports, after the manager dropped him from the squad that faced Arsenal September 3rd. Ten Hag said Sancho hadn't reached the required standards in training. Sancho's mood has been described to Sky Sports News as good as it can be, considering the situation. I'm training off to the side. I don't get to eat with any of you. I get to go over here. As good as can be expected. Soccer on TV today. FS2 has the International Women's Friendly at 6:30 with Canada and Brazil. SEC Network. Oh, yesterday. Georgia State gets the win over Southern Miss in the opening round of the Sun Belt tournament in the 7-10 matchup. And so as the 7, Georgia State advances. They get Old Dominion next time out. SEC Network has the quadruple header for the college women's tournament for the SEC, starting at 1, 3:30, 6, and 8:30. 2 to NA has the Liga MX doubleheader. Toluca, Puebla, Monterrey, Necaxa. Carabao Cup. So the Gummy Bear Cup is on the plus at 3:30, 2 matches there. German Cup, 6 matches on the plus. 1 o'clock has 3 of them. 3:30 has the other 3. Copa del Rey is today. 2 matchups start at 4 o'clock. College men's action, 8 matches on the men's side. College women, once again, the American tournament underway, UAB in Memphis. 3 other matches, 1:30, 4:30, and 7. Paramount Plus is very, very busy. Argentine Primera doubleheader at 6 and 8. Brasileiro at 6. Bahia and Fluminense. Copa Italia. Start of the second half, Cremonese Cittadella. Then you've got Salernitana Sampdoria at 1. Bologna Hellas Verona at 4. CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup qualifying, quadruple header. 4, 6:30, and 2 matches at 7. Scottish Premiership at 3:45. Hibs and Ross County. If you don't have access to things like CDO for the fans, Teisei, BN, Gold TV, You can go to Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here, and you can get all of those matches, and you can basically just sit there and spend a lot of your time watching TAC and all of their programming, because Jason got me hooked. I blame him. So once again, thanks to Lucas Panzica for joining us off the top, and thanks to our friends at Soccer in the Streets as well. And it was great to catch up with them to find out about footy ball. And what I mean by footy ball is the annual fundraiser, Friday, November 10th from 7 to 11 at Monday Night Garage, presented by Atlanta United. And it was great to catch up with our friends there as well, and find out more information about Soccer in the Streets, about footy ball. Great to catch up with Executive Director Elijah Miranda and find out about his time in Columbus and Thomasville. Great to catch up with him and find out what's going on there at footy ball on the 10th. Once again, you can register for the auction. You don't have to go. You can also donate separately if you so wish. You can go down soccerstreets.org, click on the banner, and get engaged and get involved with footy ball going forward for 2023. So that's another show. Thanks for hanging out with us once again. Later today, you'll get your episodics catching you up on League One and the championship. And tomorrow, very, very busy day. We'll get you prepped for Atlanta United and Columbus. Dylan and Bart, hour number 2. All of the taped interviews that we have, that'll be on the network later on in the day as well. And that will get you ready for the midweek. Once again, thanks to all of you guys for hanging out with us as you do every single day. And we will get you ready for soccer every single time out. So once again, for everybody here at SDH, thanks to our friends at Soccer in the Streets. Thanks to Lucas Panzica. Thanks to you. Enjoy the sickos stuff that's going to be on the Plus and all the other networks today, since we don't have MLS playoffs tonight. We got them tomorrow with Atlanta and Columbus. So thanks again to all of you hanging out with all of us. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Mucho Platiel played safe, everybody. We will catch up with you tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern. End of the show. That means I get to do this.